Hey everybody. Hello, hello. Welcome to Raincross Farms Makery and welcome to this segment of Craft Round the Clock. We are so glad to have you here. My name is Robin and you may hear but not see my husband Bill behind the camera and behind the computer. And we are crossing our fingers that we don't have any technical difficulties tonight because between Facebook and internet, you just never know. It's been fun. Anyway, thanks for joining us. Come on in, say hello. And I'm going to pull this up on my phone. Maybe somewhere. Are we sharing? Okay. I'm not seeing it.
I am.
You're seeing it. Okay, good. Okay. There we go. It is on. So, hello, hello. Thanks for joining us. As with any live, it really helps out the creator if you are able to and willing to. If you would love our page, like our page, follow our page, share out our video to your friends, to any craft groups you belong to, that really helps. And we also do have stars activated. That always is a nice little bonus, but we appreciate so very much. So let's see. Hello, Alana. I hope you do get to stay longer. Hi, Shelby. Hello, Tracy. Welcome, welcome. Thanks for sharing. And I have a fun project tonight. And I watch a lot of crafters. I'm not going to say I watch every crafter, but I watch a lot of crafters, and I'm going to do some techniques that I don't see very often, at least not on the craft groups that I belong to. So hopefully you will pick up something new, see a new technique, get a new idea. Thank you for sprinkling, Shelby. So this is actually not a 45-minute project, but I've done a lot of prep work. So we'll get to a certain point in the project and then I'll say, and then you do this and you wait this amount of time, and then I'll pick up the next piece. So you should be able to see the entire project in our 45-minute time slot, but you probably won't be able to recreate it yourself in the 45 minutes. So hello, Cheryl, welcome. Well, let me tell you what we're doing. We are going to make a trivet, hot plate. Basically, we're going to make it out of a tile. And I got this tile. I got a set of 6 of these hexagon tiles from Home Depot. They were $1.99 for a set of 6. So pretty affordable. And they are a hexagon and they're just a ceramic tile. And we are going to decorate it with alcohol inks. Let me know, have you ever seen alcohol inks being used? Hello, Tallulah Bell. How are your little chickens? So we're going to use alcohol inks to decorate the face of it. Then we're going to switch over to our chalk supplies, and we are going to chalk on these words, meals and memories made here. I thought that would be very appropriate for a trivet that's going to be out maybe on your dining room or in your kitchen. Anyway, and then we're going to seal it with epoxy. So tell me, have you used alcohol inks? Have you used epoxy? Because I'm sure you've probably seen the chalk stuff. So let me know if that's going to be new for you, alcohol inks and epoxy. Okay, I'm going to start by putting down some parchment paper, just because some of this can get kind of messy and can kind of stain. So just some parchment paper. You could use butcher paper. Now I want to make sure that this surface doesn't have any oils or debris. So this is just alcohol in a little spray bottle. So I'm just going to clean this with alcohol. And I just have a cotton ball. And that's just going to remove any oils that I may have gotten on it from my hands. Okay, both are new to Cheryl. Both are new to Tallulah Bell. Okay. Hello, Cheryl. Okay, Alana has used both. Okay, so you can tell me if I'm doing it right or doing it wrong. Okay, I'm going to make sure this is dry. So we are going to start with the alcohol inks. Alcohol inks, I'm not an expert, but alcohol inks are just basically inks that are based in alcohol. Is that correct, Mr. Bill?
As far as I know.
Okay, so these are the kind I get. They are Ranger brand. They are Tim Holtz / Ranger brand. I have gotten these at Joann's. They come in like a pack of 3 different colors. You can also order them individually online. Individually, they're maybe a little more expensive than what they would be if you figured out how much they were in a pack of 3, but you get to choose your colors. Now, ordinarily, earlier I had this project all planned to use with our honeycomb pattern because it's a hexagon. Our honeycomb pattern is out of stock. So we're gonna break free from the gold look for now, and we're gonna do this in some shades of green. So this is Everglades, and I have, let's see, what do I have? I have some mojito, and I have some citrus, just some shades of green, and I may do some honeycomb. We'll see. And I am going to use gold. This is not exactly it's alcohol based, but it's a mixative. It's not like an ink. This one has a little shaker in it. So let's get started. I'm going to use this little dabber. You don't have to use this, but it's nice because then you don't get your fingers all inky. And it comes with these little felt pads, and it's got like a little Velcro grippy strip. So this, you could just use a cotton ball that you kind of have to pick off the little hairs. But I like using this because I have it and I don't get ink all over my fingers. So I'm just going to start this. I'm going to start with this dark Everglades. Now, the thing about alcohol inks is they will do what they will do. And you just kind of have to learn to live with it. So I've got some of this dark green here. And I'm going to take this and I'm just going to kind of dab it so that it spreads. I'll show you exactly what I mean by that it will do what it will do. So I'm just kind of dabbing it around.
Will this stuff like stain your fingers?
Well, yeah, I mean, it'll eventually wash off. You clean it off with alcohol. Because it's made out of alcohol, it cleans up with alcohol. And don't have to have this completely covered, but I'm going to put a little bit more of this green. Isn't that a pretty green? And if you put too much on, it's all right. It will dissipate. It will evaporate. Okay. You can kind of see how it's making these little cells all on its own. And you kind of want to learn to adapt to that. Now, right now, I'm kind of getting rid of those cells because I'm going to drop in some other colors. But this is going to be, it's not going to be a solid color background. Otherwise, I would just paint it. But I kind of want it to have this inky effect. Okay, so you can see I don't have it completely covered. That's okay. It kind of looks mottled or something. Now I'm going to switch over to, this is citrus. So this is a lighter, kind of a lemony green, limey green. And I'm going to drop a few drops here and there. And you can kind of see what it does. And if you go do an overhead shot, you'll kind of see what it's doing. See how it's kind of making those cells? It's kind of separating from itself, building up some little borders. And I'm going to kind of get rid of some of those cell borders by just tamping it down with my felt pad. filling in some of those areas. And let's see, I'm gonna switch it up. I'm gonna move to a different color. I'm gonna move to Botanical, which is a little bit, it's in between these two colors. And again, I'm just gonna drop a few drops here and there, and it will do what it will do. Okay. Do I have everyone mesmerized? I'm not seeing comments, so I'm assuming I kind of have you mesmerized. Okay, isn't that cool? Okay, see, and I got a little bit on me, but I'm going to take a disinfecting wipe because they have, I don't know if it's truly alcohol, but they have whatever chemical will kind of help clean that up off of my fingers. If it does stain, it's only temporary. Okay, so it's kind of building some cells, and I can kind of model them a little bit by tamping them down, or I could completely leave it like that. Now, what I like doing is adding a little bit of metallic to what I'm doing. It is pretty. And it would have looked so awesome with the beehive honeycomb pattern, but that was not to be. Okay, so I've kind of tamed that down a little bit. Now I'm going to switch to, put these away so I don't knock them over. I don't think I'm going to add any of the honeycomb color. I think I'm just going to go straight to my gold. Now this is thicker. Yes, you're watching so intently. Well, just keep on watching. Okay, so this needs to be shaken up. It needs to mix in. It's got, I don't know if it's got mica, not mica flakes, but anyway, it's a metallic. And this is gold. And I don't want to put too much on here, but I'm just going to drop some gold. Oh, this reminds me of St. Patrick's Day. Now, the gold does not create cells like the inks do, but that's where this little baby comes in. So I just kind of mash those around. And it gives me that gold appearance. Do we like it so far? Easy peasy, right? Now, if I left this alone to dry, it would be permanent unless I put on some alcohol. If I dribbled alcohol on it, it's going to smear. So you don't want to do that. Okay, so can you see? What do we think? Do we like that? Do I need more gold? Can you see that?
I think you got enough gold.
Got enough gold. Too much gold? Because I can just keep layer. I can go back. I can put a little more green back on. If I think I got too much gold, I can do a few more drops of
it's like
the green.
At 12 o'clock, it looks a little lighter than the rest of it.
Okay, so we're just going to put a little more. And if I wanted to, I could kind of take my spray bottle of alcohol and kind of spritz it. That kind of thins it out.
You have a spray bottle with alcohol in it?
Spray bottle with alcohol. I think it's 91%, not the 70%.
It's really beautiful. Cheryl says just fine.
Okay, Cheryl likes it. You like the gold. Okay. So you can just keep layering it till you get the colors you like. If it's too dark, add some more lighter colors. If it's too light, add some darker colors. So that is the basis of our trivet. Now, the next step I'm going to do is I'm going to chalk this design over it. But before I do, because I don't want this to peel up, I don't want it to get smeared, I don't want to ruin my transfer, I would take this and I would give it just a light coat of clear spray paint. I would use matte, clear matte spray paint and let that dry for 15 minutes and then proceed just to protect the ink.
Is that dry now?
It is mostly.
So it might be a little sticky.
So I could take,
that stuff dries real,
yeah, well, it's not, it won't be sticky. It's a little, might be a little wet, but it dries really quick because it's alcohol. Alcohol evaporates very quickly. Yes, you can do that too. I didn't want to go that far in this tutorial. Okay, so I'm gonna let it air dry, and then I would take it outside, spray it with clear spray paint. And by the magic of Facebook Live, I have one that is finished that has been spray painted. Now, again, remember I told you I was originally going to do the honeycomb. So my samples are all this gold, and I think I used the honeycomb color. I used honeycomb, I used latte, and I used the gold. So here's one that I finished yesterday, and I did just that same thing. I just took the little dauber and put my design on there, and then the only difference is I have sprayed this with what did I spray it with? I sprayed it with clear spray paint, just like this. Okay, so now we're going to chalk on this. That'll be like our little middle step. And this is the transfer, Meals and Memories Made Here. Okay, this is actually on its way out. So it is in Last Chance. So if you like this, it's a beautiful little transfer. It's our little A size. You can comment the word tile, like tile for this. And I have a cart link that has this in there. So once it's sold out, it's not coming back. They are retiring it. So I'm going to put a little bit of fuzz on our transfer because I don't want to pull up any of this paint. So this is not the first time I've used it. Let me see. And I'm going to just center this here. Our transfers are sticky. They are reusable. Like I said, I use this on a sample that you're going to see in a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to push down that sticky. And I'm going to use my chalk paste. I'm not going to use ink, even though this is intended to be permanent. We're going to cover it with epoxy. That's going to make it permanent. So I'm pushing this down so I don't have any place for it to bleed. And I'm going to use our Black Velvet Chalkology paste. And I'm going to chalk in paste form, non-toxic, water-soluble. I'm going to take a little bit of it on the squeegee, and I'm just going to lightly drag that over the silk screen. That open area you see is not really open. It is a fine mesh silk screen. I'm going to scrape off the excess. Okay, now I will tell you, I've done this same process with smaller tiles, the little arabesque shaped ones or the mini hexagons, and I've done this exact same thing for Christmas decorations. Okay, now I'm going to carefully peel this up. This is why I did the spray paint, because I didn't want this transfer to peel up any of this ink. Okay, so I'm going to lay that down. And I'm going to clean it a little bit later. So I'm going to just spray it with water for now so it doesn't dry out. Okay. Do I still have you mesmerized?
Yes, you do.
Okay. Tell me what you think so far. Which do you like better? Which do you like better? The green or the gold?
Just whatever color you do.
Whatever color you, well, I mean, definitely. But of these, which do you like better? The green or the gold? And I'm going to just hit this with a dryer. Now I could dry this. Okay, Cheryl likes the gold. Lavada, I haven't said hello to you. Welcome. Thanks for asking about the supply list. So I'm going dry this, but before I put the epoxy on, which is kind of the fun thing, I want to make sure it's really, really dry. And I also want to make sure that I don't have any mishaps. And so I'm going to let this really, really dry. I'm going to spray it again with my clear spray paint, my matte clear spray paint. So from here, just the background, spray paint it, put my chalk transfer on, let it dry, spray paint it, and then I happen to have one that is spray painted.
What?
So so here I have one that I did last night and chalked it. You can kind of see the design is a little bit different. No two are alike, so don't ever try to make matching ones because they won't come out exact. Okay, so this is ready to chalk. Not to chalk. We've already chalked it. This is ready to epoxy. Now, epoxy has a lot of explanation, so I'm sure I have enough time. Okay, epoxy this is the brand I use. I use Artisan brand. There's a lot of brands. This I order online. The store used to be in Coeur d'Alene, which is a couple hours away from us, but they've moved to Texas. Anyway, I ordered online. I really like this brand, but they have all kinds of brands in craft stores, in Joann's. I'm not sure I've seen it at Walmart, but it's probably at Walmart. You're looking for a 2-part epoxy. Okay, and one part, the A part is the resin, and the B part is the hardener. Okay, and you want to check your labels to make sure your measurements. This is a 1-to-1, so I'm going to mix together an equal amount of part A with an equal amount of part B in order for the epoxy to harden up correctly. This can be pretty harsh, so some people are very sensitive to it. So you might want to wear one of those respirator masks like painters wear, not the super duper, tubes and everything. You might want to wear a mask just to protect your breathing. We've kind of got some good airflow down here, and I've done it enough to know that I'm not bothered by it. But you take care of you, especially when you're starting. You might want to get a mask. You definitely want some latex gloves or some, what are these, nitrile? How do you say that? Nitrile? Some nitrile gloves, because
you can get the mask and the gloves at Harbor Freight.
Harbor Freight has them. Home Depot has them. I think they're not quite as cheap. You don't want to get the epoxy on your skin. It's not going to instantly burn you up, but most people who have a reaction to it touching their skin. So you want to touch as little of it as possible. So this is what I'm going to do. I take those bigger jars and I transfer them into some squeeze bottles that I've labeled A and B. It says DIY because that used to be the name of the company. Before they moved, they changed their name. And then I'm going to take a little graduated medicine cup. It's got markings on the side because it's very important that you are exact in your measurements. Okay, Lavada liked both. Alana preferred green, but they're both pretty. Tallulah Bell preferred the green. So, I don't know. They're all pretty colors. Thank you for your opinions. Okay, so I start with the part B, the hardener, because it's thinner. And let me tell you why. This has to get mixed really, really well. And if I put the thicker stuff down here, I'm afraid it's going to stick to the bottom. So I put the thinner on the bottom and the thicker on top because I think it mixes a little better. So I think I can get away with 10 milliliters, but just in case, I'm going to do 15. So that means I need 7.5 of each part. So I'm holding this up at eye level and I'm filling that to the 7.5 and let it settle. Okay, I think that's 7.5. If your measurements are off, I mean, if your measurements are off, I'm just going to say that, not how much off, but if your measurements are off, your resin will not set up, and you'll just have a big gooey mess that you just will have to scrape off or just trash. Okay, same thing. Another, I'm going to top it off to the 15, and this is thicker, so I actually have a bigger hole in this lid, and I've got it at eye level. And I'm filling that up to the 15 because 7.5 and 7.5 are 15. Okay. Now, I haven't put on gloves yet. Depending on how sloppy you are, you might want to have the gloves on already. I've done this enough that I'm pretty good about not getting it on. I'm wiping my fingers off because there's a little bit of residue on the cups. Next, I'm going to take, you could use a popsicle stick. I like using this plastic stick. It's from the company that sells the epoxy. And we're going to mix this for 4 minutes. Okay, and I'm going to set my timer for 4 minutes. Okay, now, it's important that you don't whip this up like whipped cream. I am just gently stirring that. I'm not taking that stick and lifting it up and letting it drip off, because that's going to incorporate air, and that means bubbles. And bubbles are your enemy when you're using epoxy. There are some epoxy mixtures that are not one-to-one, especially some of the quick set ones. This is not quick set. It's going to take about 8 hours till it's dry enough that I can touch it. But there are some fast sets that are like 2 parts to 1 part. You just have to read the directions really carefully. And they have all different size bottles, so you don't have to, you can buy it in gallon jugs, or you can buy it in little teeny bottles if you're just trying it out. Okay, so I'm just stirring this up, and I'm making sure that I'm scraping the sides so that that thicker stuff isn't clinging to the sides and not getting mixed in. And I'm going along the bottom, making sure that all gets mixed in. And I do that for 4 minutes. I know it's kind of boring, but it's pretty important. Okay, and I'm sure this is more than I need, but you don't want to shortchange yourself on a project. You want to mix up as much as you need and maybe a little extra the first time, because you don't want to run short. Okay, any questions? So tell me, what's going on today?
I got all my lawns mowed. I just don't
Bill
have
got,
bed.
yes, Bill got his lawns mowed. All of them? Well, it wasn't as bad as it was. It was a little more controlled. So what did everyone do today? Did you go to work? Did you stay home and craft? Did you babysit your grandkids? What did you do today? Okay. So you can see I'm not whipping this up into a frenzy. Just slow and steady for 4 minutes. Okay, now this is a pretty simple project. It's not like making tumblers, which I don't know if you hear that squeaking sound. I have some epoxy tumblers on their spinners right behind you over there. Sat on my duff and played video games and did a little bit of diamond dots. I have not attempted diamond dots. Oh, I just got my notice that we're going live.
I got mine earlier. I got mine 15 minutes ahead.
Well, that's good, because I just got mine. It's a good thing I knew we were going live. And you'll eventually tell when you're getting it mixed. Before it's mixed, it gets kind of cloudy. They both are clear to start with. When you start to mix it, it will be cloudy. And when you have got it mixed, it will kind of loosen up and it will go clear. There will be some bubbles, but like I said, you don't want it to be like a froth because bubbles can be your enemy. It's relaxing to you. I don't know if I have good enough eyesight. Do you have to have good eyesight to do diamond dots? Okay.
I honestly have no idea what diamond dots are.
There, you glue on little diamonds on a picture. Okay.
I'll have to trust you on that.
You will. You'll have to trust me. Okay, so that's been 4 minutes. I probably lost a lot of people watching me. That's as bad as watching paint dry, watching me stir. Okay, I walked dogs and went to the doctor and back home and watched Crafters. Yay, good thing. Okay, I'm done with this. So I'm using one of my Clorox wipes, disinfecting wipes, because I think it's got a little bit of alcohol in it. Anyway, whatever it is, it cuts through the stickiness of this. And now I've got 15 milliliters of epoxy. Now I'm going to put on my glove. It doesn't have to be nitrile. It can be latex. It's not going through. Okay. And I want this off of my surface. So I'm going to just put it on this can. And then this is my applicator, my hand. So I'm going to take my gloved finger and I'm going to just kind of smear it across there. And gravity, for the most part, will level it flat. But I'm just getting it up to the edges. And this is going to protect that. It's going to protect the alcohol ink. It's going to protect the chalk. It's going to give it a permanent surface.
Are you going to need to apply it twice or 3 times?
I'm not. No, not for this. Like when I do tumblers, I end up putting like 4 coats of it on because those are going to get a whole lot of use. But this is pretty much going to just sit on a counter. So I'm just kind of smearing it around. I don't want it too thick because it will drip over the edges, which is not the end of the world, but we don't want to waste it if we don't have to. And I can see some bubbles in there, but I will show you how we deal with those. Do I have enough time? I think I do. Okay. Now, I have taken this right up to the edge, and it is thick enough that it might not spill over the edge. It might just build its own little barrier, but I do want it to go over the edge. So I'm just taking a little bit of the epoxy and hitting those edges. And right now it's pretty thin because it hasn't really started to set up. As time goes, after about 15 minutes, it'll be noticeably thicker. So you really want to use it, get it applied while it is still in that thin stage. And then it's going to just sit for hours and hours and hours. Okay, so I've got that on. Now I'm looking to make sure I've got, it looks like I've got a hair in there.
It's not mine.
Hair or a piece of fuzz or probably a dog hair. So while that's still wet, I'm going to pull up that hair.
They share their hairs regularly.
Pull up that hair, get it out of there, and then lay that back down smooth. Okay, making sure it's all covered.
So you rub it across it with your fingers, that put like a ridges in it?
No, well, temporarily. Its gravity is going to level it.
So it's self-leveling.
It's self-leveling. That's why when I do the tumblers, I have to put them on a turner because it's constantly flowing, and I don't want it to flow off the tumbler, so I have to keep it turning, if that makes sense. Okay, so I've got that down, and I'm going to take off the glove. You know this trick where all your goopy stuff is here, so you take the sleeve of your glove and you keep all of that junk inside there so it doesn't make a mess. Okay, so this is done. As I'm going to keep an eye on it for a couple of hours, like every 30 minutes I'm going to come in, and if anything has dripped to the bottom, I'm just going to take a popsicle stick or something, and I'm just going to scrape that off, just like that. Okay. Now I have a little bit of extra. Sometimes when you have a little bit of extra, I have a little bit of time, you can, let's see, let's use this. You can add some of this alcohol ink to your leftover epoxy and get yourself a mold. This is a little mold of, they're like little jewelry pendant things. It's got a little place for the hole. Okay. So I've got some alcohol ink in my epoxy. It colors the epoxy. I could have done it on there, but I wanted it clear. So here I've got some green epoxy, and I can even take some, this is some ultra fine glitter. This is just something you can do with your extra. I don't want very much. So I'm going to put just a sprinkle of glitter in here. And so I don't know if you can see, I've got sparkly epoxy right there. And then I can take it and pour it in the mold.
Will this stuff shrink? Or
It does not shrink.
I mean, as far as when you put it in there, you fill it to the top.
You fill it to the top.
And it doesn't give a concave surface.
You fill it to the, you can kind of do a concave surface, but it's probably going to, as thin as it is, it's probably going to just spill over the mold.
Okay. All the glitter.
All the glitter, yes. Yeah. So I've also got some molds with some alphabet letters that I use for keychains. Okay, and then I'm going to toss that. I'm going to clean this off one more time. And remember I told you there were bubbles, and we don't want bubbles in our epoxy just because it doesn't look good. So let me show you how you can fight bubbles. One way, which I like to do with, especially with the molds, is because I don't want to put heat on the molds, is I take my alcohol, I use the 91% alcohol, and in a spray bottle, and I just spray the top of that, and it brings the bubbles to the surface and pops them. You don't want too much. I'm going to let that sit for a few minutes. Another way is with heat. Now, you saw me earlier using this one. This is not a heat gun. This is just a warm air dryer. This is an embossing tool, which gets really hot. It's not as hot as a heat gun, but this high heat from a heat gun will pop some of those bubbles. So I'm going to take my heat gun. It's going to take a second to warm up. And I just blow it over there and pop any of those bubbles. And I actually think that is another hair. No, it's not. It's not a hair. It's just some bubbles. Okay, so and I could also take a butane torch. That would get rid of all the bubbles. or I can also do the alcohol on this. So just a light spray over the top. It will pull up. It will pull up any of those air bubbles. Back to those. You can still see it pulling up air bubbles. And like I said, I'm going to let this sit for overnight for 8 hours or more. And then I'm going to carefully touch it and make sure it is dry to the touch. Now, you're not going to put food on this because this will not be fully cured for at least 3 days after it's dry. So, but you don't want to be putting epoxy on anything that is going to have actual food in it. Anyway. Okay, so this is going to dry. Let me show you a completely finished one I did last Christmas. So this was with one of our Christmas transfers. And so I chalked all of that on. I didn't do the alcohol ink on this. I just did the chalk paste and the epoxy. So that is all shiny and you can use it as a hot pad. And what I did is on the back, I got adhesive cork at Dollar Tree. And I just put it down on that and cut around the edges. And I have a cork background, a cork bottom on this. So it looks lovely on my table. So tell me what you thought. What did you think? Is this something you might think about trying? I'm going to a couple more spurts of alcohol. Is it something you would consider trying? So we did, just to recap, we did alcohol inks. I used a couple of different colors of alcohol inks. And this one I used the yellows and the golds. And then the first one I did greens and golds with alcohol inks. Then I told you we put it aside and we spray it with clear spray paint. Then we come in and we put on the chalk paste or whatever design, words, or whatever you have. And then let that dry, spray it again, and then we put the epoxy on. So if you, again, were interested in this transfer, this design, you can comment tile in the comments and my bot will send you a cart link to all of the supplies. And I think that's it. So if you don't have any questions, our time is just about up. Thank you so much for those of you that stayed on and watched. We had a few more viewers than normal, so that's exciting. I hope if you're not already following our page, I hope you will consider doing that and check us out next time that we go live. We go live just about every day. Thank you for the hearts so much. Tallulah Bell loves it. Thank you. So hopefully maybe you learned something you want to give a try. Again, these are perfect for Christmas ornaments too. So closer to Christmas, we will redo something like this and we'll show you how to do some Christmas ornaments with some Christmas transfers. So again, thanks so much. And thank you so much to Craft Around the Clock for letting us host this segment. And I'm going to pose. So I have a decent thumbnail and we will hop off and enjoy your next crafter that's up and have a great rest of your week and we will see you next week. Bye-bye.